detained, naked old woman, a torn flag, a bereaved mother, hidden hands, wars and collapses, ambiguous symbols and conflicts, an all-seeing eye and ancient legends, forecasts and prophecies, all of this and more gathered under a simple, nice title: I Pet Goat. In 2006, Heliophant, a Canadian graphics company, began working on a short animated film, which they called The Pet Goat 2. It is known that the film does not have a previous part, and this raised a question that has been lavished on the naming of the film. This movie is the second part, so where is the first part? We will discuss the answer to this question later. The events start with a goat getting his head out of a box. This goat tries to become aware of what's around him, but he's soon hit by a seizure of the roundabout of his absence to release a desperate loot, and that's where the front of the film ends. The camera moves us to a black devil hand holding a handle to the puppets of the show, and it turns out that this puppet held by that hand is nothing but the character of former US President George Bush Jr. The latter is sitting in a classroom, and the board behind him seems to be crowded with symbols and writings. The President of the United States was acting weirdly before he replaced his face by turning with former President Barack Obama. Each carries a political, social, and even religious issue that has occurred and will probably occur in a vaguely dramatic manner that has carried hundreds of questions and theories, the first of which is the grand conspiracy theory. The film and the events of September 11th. 4 commercial civilian transport planes targeted the World Trade Towers in New York, while 3 of them succeeded in targeting. That incident became the gateway that opened the pages of a new bloody class in our world. Meanwhile, US President George Bush Jr. was sitting in a classroom at a Florida school reading with students a story entitled The Pet Goat, which was September 11th, 2001. The film filmed as many films this spectacular event, but the President of the United States was not just a musket puppet, but a D-hat was placed on his head, meaning he was stupid and slow to learn. And why are the strange symbols painted on the board where he is? Why did Barack Obama appear wearing a college graduation hat? Conspiracy theory. Michael Parkin says the political world. The conspiracy theory has 3 principles. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing is what it looks like, and everything is related. These are the rules that govern the universe in this theory. And with its multiplicity and abundance, we can hardly hear about an event unless the conspiracy theory follows. But the most famous of them is that the world is managed by a hidden group as it sees fit for its ideas and vibes, and that this management lies in global economic control. And, of course, when this theory is mentioned, the first thing that will come to mind is global masonry. Director's opinion. In one of the interviews that hosted the author, writer, editor, director, and producer of this work in 2012, he explained the scarce thing about his intention with the film's symbols, if he chose to leave the explanations to the viewers each according to his vision. He said that the goats at the beginning of the film represented the absent peoples, or the march, as evidenced by the barcode symbol on the forehead of these goats, and added, when these peoples try to wake up, they soon return to their coma forcibly, so they soon realize that they are just numbers. Speaking of naming the film and adding number 2 to the name of the film, he said, "There is no specific reason for this name, perhaps because his editorial was George Bush 2, so I decided to put the number 2. But with this explanation, some analysts stayed on to their views on the irrationality of the director's explanation for the reason for the label, and insisted that it was subtle and vague. In the view of some, the director is a member of the invisible group that dominates the world, and his film is a review of what the group's absolute power has done, including those who say that the director was a former member or a former relationship with the Illuminati, and his film was intended to reveal what he knew, but indirectly." Prophecies. You may now wonder what's exciting about a film that shows everyone who knows it. It was preceded by many works that dealt with conspiracy theory. The main reason why the pet goat film came back to the facade is the fulfillment of many of the prophecies he referred to in his viewing. This is what he was entrusted with so much fanfare. We all remember the fire of Notre Dame Cathedral in France in 2019. The fire consumed the cathedral, and the fire led to the collapse of the bell tower and the central spire. Back in the events of the film, we see a cathedral that is very similar to the one that burned down in France and is collapsing, especially the bell tower and its spire. Is it just a coincidence? A deadly disease passed from Chinese bats in the heart of the world upside down, taking millions of lives around the world. In one of the footage, we see a bereaved mother mourning her deceased son in her hands, showing a yellow substance on one eye, and after a while we see a beetle with the same substance walking on the dead child's face. Followers say the film referred to a deadly disease that will kill humans from animals, and that's what we saw in the coronavirus pandemic. Is that the disease that the film predicted? Or is there a greater coming? Nuclear war. The term World War III emerged with the crisis between Iran and the United States of America at the beginning of 2020 and resurfaced with the outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian war. The term Third World War draws our minds directly to nuclear power. Great powers and others with thousands of nuclear warheads ready to annihilate the world at the push of a button. Nuclear explosion constitutes an explosive halo in the form of a mushroom head. This is a clear feature in the film, but strangely, this nuclear explosive aura appeared behind a woman in an Arabic outfit. This has provoked much controversy and reflection on the upcoming nuclear war in the Arab territories. In conclusion, the events of this universe may be somehow strange, looking like a backstage tale, or so obvious that we don't understand it. In any case, the human mind will not accept the existence of something if it doesn't realize or feel it.